everybody, it's Safi and Marco dishing out on the movies. Hey, it's going to be Christmas in a week, and we're actually doing some, quote, Christmas movies.
Hey, Safi, who cares about Christmas?
A lot of people.
You know what today is, Safi? That's
Today
the important
is
thing.
Marco's birthday!
Yeah.
23 years old. He's a millennial. Okay, everybody celebrate. Okay, well, today we're talking about Home Alone 1, which came out in 1990, and Home Alone 2, which came out 2 years later in 1992. And actually, it was Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, which wouldn't be a bad thing, I think.
That would be a terrible thing. You'd probably get beaten to death or shot, stabbed.
I don't think so. And I would love to
Molested.
go get some good food,
Smothered.
go to a Broadway show,
Strangled.
go to the Statue of Liberty.
Punched.
I don't think so. And go to the museums. Okay,
Burnt alive.
That sounds like some kind of weird
Shot to
right-wing
death.
BS stuff.
No, that sounds like reality. I'd rather walk around in hell than walk around in New York.
Oh, not me. I would love to go to New York
I'd
City.
rather walk around in hell.
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about that now.
Why?
Okay, I have watched both Home Alone movies, 1 and 2, every year since they came out. It's like a tradition, in a way. In fact, when they premiered, a flurry of news reporting about similar cases of kids and their siblings who had been left alone while their parents went on party vacations came out. Unlike the movies, though, many people thought were funny, they did not particularly like what were happening to real kids.
Well, usually that's always played off as like a joke or like, come on, Safi, you've seen that in a million movies. Like, let's think, Diary of a Wimpy Kid 2, Roderick Rules.
No,
what happened in that?
I don't know, but I don't
Him and his brother get left home alone, and his brother throws a party for the weekend, and then the parents come home and they find out, wah, wah, wah.
Well, this
Remember?
was back in 1990, and I think
So?
the guy who wrote the
But
Wimpy Kid was a little kid then.
I'm making a point that usually in movies you always have the plot where the kid is left home alone and then he has a party.
Okay, whatever. So, when Home Alone 1 premiered, my oldest boy was 2, and leaving him at home was unfathomable. But I thought, it's Hollywood and unreal, and I decided to just enjoy it and the following movie, too. I do think that the families involved in the movie were very shallow people, including Kevin, but he wasn't as bad. His big brother, Buzz, was a lot older than him, too, and he was always given preferential treatment. I never understood that because he was such a mean jerk. Why did he get all that special treatment? It's like they weren't even paying attention to Kevin.
Buzz looks like a homo.
Okay, you can stop that. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. He's
Well,
just mean, and I really don't think what you're saying. You need to
He's
stop.
such
Whatever you're doing, you need to stop.
His name is Buzz, Safi.
Okay, well, because he has a buzz cut.
Yeah, well.
That's what it is. I don't know why you say that. I think you really stop now.
Did you see his girlfriend, Safi? She looked like fucking that pig Muppet. Remember Mrs. Piggy?
Yeah, Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy.
Okay, but the bad guys, Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern, were perfect characters and funny. They were not afraid to be banged up to get a laugh. This is actually a thing called physical humor. Chevy Chase and others like Lucille Ball, Dick Van Dyke, they've all been known for their physical humor.
Was that from the Wikipedia page on comedy?
No, it's from me, from what I remember. Not everybody can do it, but it works for them. Anyway, in Home Alone 1, Kevin is 8 and defends his home from thieves. What's wrong with that? Seriously, because his family has money, it's okay for a pair of thieves to steal from them? Not only that, in the wake of all their stealing, Daniel Stern leaves the water on, flooding people's houses. So not only did they steal, they damaged people's property. And because they wore crappy clothes to steal, some people assume they're poor. Really? And only poor people steal? Really? A few people's names come to my mind who steal, who are well-dressed and very wealthy.
Your mama?
I won't name any names, but to assume only poor people steal is asinine.
Well, it was hilarious. I watched this podcast. This is where she got that from, you see. I didn't really know what to say about this movie, so that's why I'm saying random things about it, like how Buzz looks like a homo.
I said don't do that, and I won't continue to do this review if you continue to do that.
But it's true. I'm just
saying. I really don't know what you're talking about.
On this channel, we speak the truth, no matter.
That's not the truth. I don't even know what that is, and I will not continue
to
do this.
No matter who it offends, including you, Safi.
I don't appreciate what you're doing.
Why don't you go salt the driveway? But I came up with the idea that we should actually respond to critiques about this movie instead of actually reviewing it like we normally do, because I thought that would be more interesting, since that's actually stuff we can talk about. Whereas, you know, if we didn't have that, we really wouldn't have anything to say. What do you say about Safi? Safi! What do you say about Home Alone? You say, Home Alone, it's a really good movie, 10 out of 10. That's it. That's all you say. That's boring. Who wants to do that? So I watched this one podcast. I don't watch these idiots anymore. But they used to do... Well, I guess they still do it. I don't really know. But they did one where they talked about the Home Alone movies. And I'm not kidding you when these buffoons said that the Home Alone is bad because the violence is terrible. And number two, the thugs, they're dressed like poor people. And for Kevin, a rich boy in a rich white house beating up on poor people, that's not a good look. And it's like, what does that have to... Like, you could criticize Home Alone for anything. You could say, I didn't like that, I didn't like that. Out of all the things to criticize, you're criticizing that Harry and Marv look poor, which they never actually... I never even thought that they looked poor as a kid. I just thought they were dressed up in generic thug outfits, like a typical, like a thug type of, henchman look.
Well, they were dressed up like workmen because they were driving a workman's truck. Well, why would they wear nice clothes to do work? Maintenance around a house.
Well, why would they have a maintenance truck unless they wanted to case the houses, Safi? That's why they had a truck.
But that was, if people saw them, they just thought they were doing maintenance. That's what I mean.
And so I thought that was the stupidest shit I've ever heard. This movie's bad because they're poor people and Kevin is beating up on the poor. Like, sorry, but who cares if they're poor or rich or whatever? They're thieves. And when you come onto someone's property, they're going to protect that property. And there's no limit on that.
And he was 8 years old. He did really well, I thought. He was very smart in coming up with ideas to get him that had nothing to do with guns, but everything to do with nails. He shot one of them
he shot one of them in the genitals with a gun, Safi.
That was a nail gun.
That was a BB gun. He shot him right in the genitals.
Okay.
That's a gun.
Okay, well, it's not
Safi?
It's not a shotgun.
Yeah, it should have been. That would have ended it right then and there.
That would have been no good. The movie would have been no good.
They would have been like, bye-bye.
You can tell him it's Marco's birthday. He's really on a little whatever.
We're never going to fuck with this 8-year-old kid again.
Oh, but they do in the next one.
And then the second one, they're even worse because they're even more stupid. Oh, okay, we're not on the second one yet. So, Safi, what else do you have to say?
Well, I like, in the first, what really stands out about these two movies It's not the families because they're so one-dimensional
They're terrible.
and boring.
This family sucks.
And they're not really on the screen that much, except for like at the very beginning and the very end.
They're really underdeveloped, and I think that that's a huge problem with the movie, since they're trying to have this like message that Kevin should have never have wished for himself to be home alone. He should have wanted to be with his great family, with all those biatches and their, French talking, like, Europe, whatever that woman called her. Like, what a terrible family. Like, they should be, like, put in the garbage disposal and get replaced with, like, a better written family. Because the only reason why this family is even likable at all, a little, is because of the actors. The mom is a great actor, the dad is a great actor. They're all great actors, and they're all very typical, but they're horrible. They're really bad. Like, they're really, really bad, Safi.
So basically, the side characters are really the main characters in the first movie, and even in the second. And the side characters are the two thieves and Marley, this old man who Buzz has mistakenly said he's some kind of killer or something.
Which he was. He was the killer in that Deranged movie. He played Ed Gein.
Okay, he wasn't,
which was cool,
playing Ed Gein in Home Alone. Anyway, the guy who played Marley was perfect. And in the movie, he was the only adult person that Kevin talked to, and they could share what was going on with each other. And the old man had some problems too. He'd been shunned from his granddaughter, and he just didn't know what to do. He had to stay away from her. And he listened to Kevin, and Kevin listened to him, and they helped each other. But he popped into the movie several times all throughout the movie. But the side characters, my point is, they're the main characters, and they really steal the show, literally. So,
yeah, the two thugs, Harry and Marv, they're the stars of the movie. If they weren't in this movie, it'd be trash. No one would have liked it. Would have gotten 0 out of 10.
And another thing is, like I said, the family was very one-dimensional, and they were very shallow. And when she gives up everything she has at the airport to get a ticket to go back home, I really couldn't stand it, because I thought it was so
contrived.
It was
dumb, stupid.
It was so disingenuous that she was this mother who missed her child. That part of it,
Yeah.
and every year I continue to watch it, I just hate it worse. In fact, and in the second movie,
It gets
at
even
the
worse.
end, she runs to Rockefeller Center,
And it's
because
like
there's a
this
humongous tree there.
cringeworthy
everybody knows.
Hallmark movie sequence.
Well, but I know, but for her, it didn't fit.
Yeah.
Because she was just so.
She's such a
I mean,
biatch.
she forgot her child
Again.
twice, and this time, I mean, they were late, and I don't know, it doesn't matter. It's just so odd, and I really didn't care for it. And it's the second, it's just every time I watch, like I said, I've watched it almost every year, and every time I see that part, I just want to turn away. I want to shut my ears, because I can't stand to listen to the BS.
You know what I can't stand to hear, Safi? People who talk about this movie and say that it's bad. Because at the end of the day, you have to admit, objectively, Home Alone is a classic. Even if you don't like it, you have to admit it's a classic. And that doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's a classic, and it's a good classic for sure, because it only works in this very perfect storm. Because in all these other movies, you have the same smart ass kid with he's talking like an adult, in all these other films, and it's like, ugh. Like, whenever you see it in any movie, it's always such an annoyance and such a makes you want to shoot the television with a Nerf gun or something. And then, like, let's see, in every other movie, if you did the same plot, it would suck. And so I think that this is good because it actually, for some reason, everything worked even though it shouldn't have. Like, this movie shouldn't have worked. It's a terrible premise. It's simple, but it's bad. I mean, there's so many flaws in logic, but somehow it's a really enjoyable movie. And it's actually a pretty dark movie because he's home alone and nobody really cares at all. Like, it's kind of creepy how he's home alone and it's almost like he's trapped there. And then you have his horrible family, and they're like sitting around watching French movies while they're eating shrimp, and it's like, what a bunch of lousy ass losers. Like, oh look, there's the kitty, just ran across the street.
Oh, God.
But overall, I would say Home Alone is good, obviously. Like, there's nothing really bad to say about it, honestly. It's just that I've kind of gotten sick of it because I have a photographic memory, and so I've already seen the movie like a million times, and I know the whole movie. Like, I don't need to keep watching it every year. Like, it gets kind of annoying too, especially the beginning when you have to suffer through watching his terrible family and their terrible behavior.
Okay, should we talk about the second one too now?
Well, let's rate the first one. The first
we're
one,
gonna do this separately, okay.
I would give the first one chocolate chip cookies because it's a classic. It's good. And some people don't like chocolate chip cookies because they're retarded. But I love chocolate chip cookies, and they're classics. So that's what this movie is. It's a classic cookie. You like cookies, Safi? What? Look. Look. There's the kitty. What do you think of people named Cookie, Safi? Do you think that they have an obligation to eat themselves to see if they actually taste like a cookie?
I don't know. I gave it my pumpkin chiffon pie served without whipped cream on top.
Oh.
It's that one thing, a shallow family leaving an 8-year-old child at home, which never should have happened. My pumpkin chiffon pie is good, but best and perfect with the whipped cream.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's what I gave it. So, let's go on to the next one.
Number 2.
Okay, and then number 2, we have a similar situation.
Speaking of Trump.
In the second movie, the side characters, there's a lot more of them, maybe 3 times as many. There's Brenda the pigeon feeder, Mr. Duncan at the toy store, and the entire hotel staff, which includes Tim Curry. They're either warm and fuzzy or ridiculous and make great faced expressions like Tim Curry because he is so talented.
Tim Curry is the best part of this movie.
And then you have the 2 thieves who are dumber than a box of rocks.
They're still perfect at their performances, though. They give
That's
really
right.
perfect performances.
And they really endured a lot more abuse in this movie to add to the humor. It was pretty gruesome watching bricks hitting them until I saw the exact bricks in a Christmas catalog, which were made of foam. The movie was still different and had to take place somewhere else and not back at home. What better place to get stuck than New York City? Go ahead.
Oh, it's gotta go gingoom time now. There's a lot more to talk about with Home Alone 2. To start off, this is just a general about the Home Alone 2. Or about the Home Alone series is, if you're offended by this light, goofy, fun violence, then you are one giant you-know-what. Because, like, I was a kid and I thought nothing of the violence, and you really have to be a special kind of something to get offended by the violence. I mean, it's not even actual violence because they're not. It's cartoony. It's a cartoon, and that's another weird thing is that for some reason the violence in these movies, it doesn't feel real at all. Like, it feels very fun and light, and you don't really think a lot about it. The thing that I did cringe, though, a couple of times in the second one, because it was a lot more over the top, including probably the worst one was when the staple gun to the genitals. Like, that was really, really, really not needed, honestly. And that was probably the worst thing for me. But I loved in the second one, the second one can be summarized basically in a sentence. There's all this original stuff in the second one. It's original and it's good. But then there's all this stuff that's basically just copying the first one. Not only copying the first one, but 90% of the jokes in the second one are relying on you to have seen the first one. Like, all of them. They're just all building off of jokes that have already been joked about. And I think that that's kind of shitty. It's almost like the Halloween 2018 of the Home Alone series, Safi. And so you're kind of hypocritical because you like it. But there's all this great original stuff, like with, well, let's see. There's a ton, like the joke in the street where there's that blonde woman, and then they meet her, and then Kevin uses her when he's being chased. And I thought that was really great. And there's all these like little things in the film that add up and that are really cool. Like Tim Curry, the hotel staff. In general, the hotel stuff is the best part of the movie. And then, of course, the final act where he's throwing bricks and he's doing all these other traps. It's really good in the final act. It's almost like the movie knows that you're waiting for that final act to happen, and so they make it a lot more grand than it was. What else is there to say about this movie, Safi? Oh, okay. The biggest flaw, though, there's a lot of flaws, because it feels like they're not really trying to improve on the story. So, the family, you thought that the family was underdeveloped in the first one? Well, they're even more underdeveloped in the second one. In fact, they're basically, they don't even have to be there, honestly. And so that's trash. Like, out of all the things you could have fixed that. You could have developed the family more and had them have more character. But no, instead, of course, we have to copy the first one. We have to have that stupid homeless woman. Like, the homeless woman stuff, that's the worst part of the movie. Because it's just totally ripping off the Marley stuff. And it's not good. Safi, what do you have to say about this Home Alone 2?
I told you, I liked
Home Alone 2.
I liked the side characters, and I thought it was great that they added so many. And, you know, in the other one, really, basically, there was just one plus the thieves. But this one, I mean, let's see, how many were there in the hotel? There was several. It ended up, there was like 3 or 4 or 5, and then plus the thieves, plus the woman in the park, and Mr. Duncan. And they had to have the woman in the park because she helped him with the thieves to get away.
Well, I didn't like that part either, so sue me.
It's just my opinion. And then Mr. Duncan was the one who appreciated what he did with the money of catching the thieves.
Well, I didn't like Mr. Dunkin' Donuts either. So.
And
they
got all
cardboard.
his presents because of his appreciation, which I thought was amazing.
Yeah, they got those presents because of the movie studios.
Whatever.
Which I thought was pretty queer.
And then the thieves, like he said, they really endured a lot of abuse. But like I said, too, I had seen those bricks in a Christmas catalog, and it was funny. I mean, they're just made out of foam.
Yeah, that was the best part.
He might have had something a little bit substantial added to them, maybe in terms of making their shape because I think if they would have been just pure foam, they would have bounced off of each other.
It was cool.
Just didn't photograph
it. It was cool too how there's all this time of them walking around in the building, and it's almost like they're looking around to like check if there's any traps anywhere. Like they're like scanning the whole rooms to see, and they're like looking at things for longer than they need to because they think there's like a trap that'll come out of it or something. Like probably the funniest moment is when Harry turns on the light bulb. He turns it on and he's just waiting for something to happen, and then he walks away from it and nothing happens, and it just leads to an even worse trap. And speaking of traps, Safi.
Well, I can speak of the traps, and that is, has anybody ever played the Game Boy Home Alone game? I used to play. We played that. My older son got that, and it was one of our favorite games.
I bet it was.
Actually, I bought it. No, I kept it. I kept a bunch of the games.
I could play
so I still have that, and we actually beat the game, and it gets really hard at the end, but they have all those traps, and you actually you're getting trapped. You're Kevin in the game, and it's really a lot of fun. So if anybody remembers that, you should let me know in the comments.
Or actually, you know what else would have been cool?
You should try to get it if you want to.
There's so many cool things they could have done in this movie. Like, I thought, honestly, it would have been cool. And also, I don't understand why they didn't have Marley in the movie at all. Like, even as a little cameo to show that, like, he's still friends with Kevin, I thought that was shitty. Like, he's just disappeared now, like it's the Andy Griffith Show.
Well, he hasn't passed away yet. I think he passed away in 2011.
Well, this movie passes away, Safi. I don't know what that was going to mean before I spoke it.
I don't either.
But I thought... Well, all the jokes wear out on you because you've already heard the jokes before. We watched these movies a day apart from each other, or at least Safi watched them back to back, and all the jokes really wear off because you've already heard them before, so they're not funny anymore.
Right.
Like, the worst one for me was the getting up late thing. Like, we got up late again! Ah! Like, oh, God, I hate that part. That's so annoying. It's such a dumbass thing to do. Like, why? Why are you... It's just, why? Like, why can't you just make something original? Why you have to be like Halloween 2018? But so I thought it would have been cool if maybe Buzz and Kevin had ended up alone together in the New York, and then maybe Buzz becomes controlling, and he becomes like a jackass with Kevin, and then Kevin runs away from him, and then he's home alone in New York. Because I thought that it was really crappy how, once again, Kevin's all alone, and he's alone in New York, which means he probably would have been killed in real life, or severely injured by lots of different types of people, and put in the hospital with all those children helped by Mr. Duncan. So, Safi, what was your favorite trap from both Home Alone movies? Like, favorite trap from part 1, favorite trap from part 2. Do you need to think about it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go first. My favorite trap from part 1 is the tarantula. I thought that was the best part. The way that, it's just simple, putting Buzz's tarantula. And it's also kind of cool, too, because wasn't Kevin afraid of the tarantula at the beginning of the movie?
Yeah.
And
you gotta be careful when you handle those. You can get bitten.
So that was cool, actually, how he didn't even care anymore at the end. He puts the tarantula on his head. I thought that was the best part. And then, of course, it leads to Marv hitting Harry with the crowbar, and then Harry gets up and hits Marv with the crowbar. So it's almost like a triple trap because of all the unintended, cause and effect things. With the second one, it's a little tougher because in the second one, they put a lot more effort into the traps. Like, they they just completely, like, outdo themselves, and to the point of where it's like, okay, if they make a third one, they better be in some Saw-like traps, or else they're gonna seem kind of lame compared to the second one. And I would say my favorite trap from the second one is the one where they anticipate the paint cans, and so there's 2 paint cans that come down, and they don't get hit by them because they remembered it from the first movie. And then after that, the giant, like, black... What was that giant black thing? It looked like a cannon, didn't it? Like, you remember that giant black tube? Remember?
Are you talking about what's on the back? That's an escape thing.
No, the
right?
tube that hit them attached to the rope. Remember? They're on the stairs. The giant black thing.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh, Safi.
They had a lot of that tool chest.
That was.
You know how expensive those tools were? That whole thing was probably like a few $1,000s. Those are like the most valuable.
What's that noise?
I know. And, I mean, that thing was huge. I've never seen a tool chest like that
It
before.
cost thousands of dollars.
It cost thousands. I know that because the tools in it were.
Finishing up, my
anyway.
favorite trap was the big black tube hitting them both down on the stairs, and then they get knocked down in the hole that Marv was knocked down earlier, or he fell down in the hole earlier. And then, if that's not bad enough, Kevin cuts the rope to the black tube, and then the black tube falls down on them and just that was just, like, insane. That was one of those moments where you go, ouch, ouch, ouch. Like, that was the best trap. Or maybe the toilet one, too. The toilet one's probably the second place, where he gets his hat lit on fire again.
He dips his head in the
He
toilet.
puts his head in the toilet, and boom, there's an explosion. What do you think, Safi? What's your favorite traps? Part 1 and then part 2? Go ahead.
I don't know. Part 1, I thought it was just funny how it was so simple. He crunched up the Christmas ornaments and left the pieces outside the window, and when...
No, he didn't crunch them up.
Well, they were all crunched up, and he stepped on them. Daniel Stern stepped on the pieces, and he got glass in his feet.
And I've had that happen before.
Me too. I have too, and it's painful with one little piece. Not with...
No, I had an entire ornament. I had the Oogie Boogie Man from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
I know, and that was a good ornament.
Because we got that as a present the year before, and that ornament fell, and I stepped on it, and it took like 1,000,000 years to get all the pieces out.
Just
and
one ornament. These were like multiple. I would say at least 6 to 8 broken ornaments. Oh God, little pieces all over the floor, and he stepped all over them. Oh. The second one, I guess the kerosene dipped rope. It was so obvious of a trap, and they fell for it anyway. That's why I said that the 2 criminals, for them to come back like that, and what they call themselves, instead of the wet bandits,
they're the sticky bandits.
Because he had some kind of sticky Velcro, bad, I shouldn't have even said that.
What?
Tape on his glove or something, and everything would stick to it, so therefore he can steal more things, or I don't know. And the kerosene dipped rope, why would you even get on there? He dipped the whole thing, and then he set it on fire.
And they could smell it too.
And they could smell it.
And they were like, why would someone do that? Why would they put kerosene all over a rope?
They're discussing that as they come down on it, and he lights the match, and you're like, oh God, how stupid are they? And he lights it up, and it immediately sets on fire. And of course, because it's all dipped, it goes up, 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 and they're on the rope coming down from the building, and they're trying to go up the building, and they don't make it, and they fall to the ground.
I hope Buzz never tries to steal anything from Kevin, because he's gonna kill him. He's going to set a trap in his room and kill Buzz.
Well, in the movie, though, in the second one, he made a plan. You saw it was all in
He made a plan
different
in
markers.
the first one.
I don't remember that.
Oh, so that's why they did that, because they're just copying everything from the first one.
Well, anyway, he
made
makes
a
these ornate plans. And,
yeah, he's a
very
real
smart.
planner.
And he set it up really well. So, anyway, so why don't we rate the Home Alone 2 now?
I would give Home Alone 2. Home Alone 2. Oops. Did you get that, Safi?
No.
I would give Home Alone 2 M&M cookies, because it's almost like you're just copying chocolate chip cookies, but instead of chocolate chips, it's M&Ms. And honestly, I like M&M cookies a lot too. They're a lot like chocolate chip cookies, but I like them a lot still. And honestly, just talking about Home Alone 2, I could almost just say Home Alone 2 is better just based on that final act with all the better traps. Because the final act is so much more satisfying, and it's a lot funnier. Even by itself, I think it would be funnier, the traps part. So I gotta say, Home Alone 2 is better.
Okay, well, I put it down a little bit because of the excessive, what would you call it? Physical humor.
Oh,
But,
Safi, don't be such a wimp.
I gave it a B+, and I also food reviewed it too. And I gave it a Jell-O fruit salad. And the foundation of the movie is the Jell-O, which of course that would be the same for a fruit salad, with a Jell-O fruit salad, sorry. Then the fruits are solid, and they represent the side characters, which were all very good and important to the movie, I think. But without that hotel cast of characters, it would not have been the same. And they added a lot, even though they didn't have humongous parts. And of course, the criminals, who are dumb, but they're not afraid to do this physical comedy, which adds to the comedy. They're solid too, so they all represent the side characters. Anything extra that's put into a salad, depending on what you want to do, like nuts, or sometimes you add a little cream to the Jell-O, so it turns like a whitish color.
Nuts?
Yeah, nuts. I just said
What
that.
kind of nuts? You have to specify.
Well, I'd say walnuts, I think.
No
Sometimes
thanks.
you can add way too many.
It's a pass for me.
You add way too many, or you might add too much cream, or you might not. It might not be enough.
I like Brazil nuts.
Ew.
They're the healthiest too.
Anyway, they can overwhelm the salad, like the one-dimensional family's behavior in the city, and they could also make the physical comedy. I'm representing, be like the physical comedy being way over the top. Even Marco, although he liked it, thought the physical comedy was a little bit way over the top.
It's cringe.
As well.
It's cringe because I just get sick of seeing all these movies where you have a guy, and then the guy has to get hit in his privates, in his groin. It's like I just get sick of seeing that over, and I've had that happen before, twice actually, and it's extremely painful. It's nothing to make fun of, unless it's like in a clever way, like in King of the Hill, where you have Bobby and he takes that women's self-defense class, and he's told to say, "That's my purse! I don't know you!" and then kick a guy in the groin, and then he does that over and over again. That's funny because that's really clever. But stuff like this, where it's just like, oh look, it's a staple to the groin. It's like, oh God, it's really hard to watch.
Yeah, that would be like having too many nuts in the salad, or having too much cream in it. It takes away from the movie a bit. Not too bad, because B+ is not really a bad grade in this movie.
The second one has a lot more flaws. We could have spent hours talking about the bad stuff in this movie.
But I don't think we should.
But it's more enjoyable than the first one. The first one is darker. It's more joyless. It makes you feel bad for some reason that you didn't like the family. Like, how could you? You should. Yeah. It's like F off. So what should they do in the future? Let's say they want to
like this pot.
No.
What?
Let's say they want to make another Home Alone movie. What should they do? I think
I don't know.
Macaulay Culkin. Is that how you say his name? Macaulay? Or Macola? Like that shitty band teacher? Oops, I wasn't supposed to say that. Macaulay Culkin made a short film that was a sequel to Home Alone 1 and 2, where he's now an adult and he's evil. And he traps these two random thugs and then he's going to torture them to death. And I thought that was pretty cool. At the same time, I think it'd actually be even cooler that you could have Macaulay Culkin as an adult and he's teamed up with Harry and Marv, who are now reformed, and they could run a home defense company or something like that, where they create traps for people's houses or something. I think that'd be pretty cool to see, or something like that. Not the stupid ass thing that they did this year where they had like some fat British kid in like a Home Alone ripoff movie, like a la Halloween 2018. What do you think, Safi?
I have no idea.
You excited to see that?
Not really.
Yeah.
I thought the two Home Alones actually were enough.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't think there should be any more made, so I realize we have more movies to watch, but I can't see how they would be any better than what we already just saw.
Well, Safi, what should people do?
I hope that people, if you want, subscribe. We always like new subscribers, and press the like button.
Subscribe!
And let me know, have any of you ever played that Game Boy game of Home Alone?
You guys ever been home alone?
Of course. And that's it, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.